Warm good afternoon to all. Welcome to day 8 of 4-week certificate course on online teaching, interactive and inclusive aspect. Today we are going to start with module 3, that is reflective strategies, for which we have a great research person. Let me introduce you to the expert for the day, Dr. Malvika Sharma. She is an eminent faculty member from the Department of Applied Science, Mathematics and Humanities at Pillai College of Engineering. Her area of research and interest are game-based learning in higher education, test-taking strategies in reading comprehension, role play, and games in the differentiated instruction class, a strategic and pedagogic approach for inclusive growth, reflective strategies, and metacognition. She has received a grant of rupees 4 lakhs from the Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi, in June 2015 for the project A Study on the Effectiveness of Game-Based Learning for the Undergraduate Students of Engineering. Madam has more than 27 years of experience in teaching and research. She is an expert English learning teaching practitioner. She also has her own YouTube channel where she uploads different reflective strategies and game-based learning videos. With this, I would like to invite Dr. Malvika ma'am to start with this session.
I'd like to greet all the participants. A very good afternoon to you all participants. I'm so happy to get this opportunity to interact with you all and also learn from you in the process. I would take this privilege of thanking the principal of Pillai College of Engineering, Dr. Sandeep Joshi sir. I would also like to thank Dr. Arun Pillai for his constant motivation. I would extend my gratitude to Professor Deepti Nair Madam for her extending her support and help. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all my colleagues and my friends for their valuable suggestions and ideas for in this particular journey in the presentation. Today, I will be sharing my views on how to introduce reflective strategies using online games. Towards this, I would like to present my screen. Just give me a minute. Is my screen visible? I need a confirmation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, madam, it is visible.
Thank you. So participants, before we start with this session, I would like all of you to express your views, your opinion on your preferred teaching style, and also how often do you use your preferred teaching style in the class. For this, I would request Deepti Nair Madam to kindly launch the poll. Okay, as we can see, there are 43% of them introduce, that is, you want to introduce your preferred teaching style is to introduce games and activities. Very good. That is a preferred teaching style. The 29% of them say that they would prefer to use PowerPoint presentations, and 21% says that they would like to have the chalk and board method. So there are 7% who would like to use videos. We find that most 50% of the participants have said that they use this, their preferred style frequently in the class. That's a very good thing. That's a very good idea of making the class an interactive one. And not only that, involving the learners in the learning process. I'm so happy. So this is indeed the right platform for me to learn from you all. So with this, I would like to stop the poll results, and then I would go to my slide as to what I will be presenting today. So today I'll be incorporating reflective strategies using online games. So I would like to take you to the current scenario that we are using, that is the online platform. And here we find whether it is a physical classroom or it is an online platform, what the teacher does is the teacher comes, prepares his or her lesson meticulously and comes to the class ready to impart information to the teacher, to all the participants, to all the learners. So what we can see over here is a teacher.
1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. 5 plus 2 is equal to 7.
So whether it is a subject like maths or whether it is a subject like English, the teacher comes to the class ready to impart information, ready to impart the knowledge and express his or her understanding about the particular topic. And then the teacher assumes that the learners will be attentive in the teaching learning process, and also the learners will interact with the teacher as and when required. That is the assumption made by all of us. Now, what happens is in the physical classroom, the teacher can get an idea whether the learner is actually understanding what the teacher is teaching from the facial expressions and the body language and so on. But this is very difficult in an online platform because it is rarely that the teacher gets a chance to have an interaction in the face-to-face manner. So the teacher can only assume that the learners are involved in the learning process, or rather they are attentively listening to the teacher, and thereby they're grasping the content or understanding the concept. So what actually happens is, to give you statistical information, that the speed at which the speaker uses a particular word is only 125 words or to 130 words per minute, whereas the listener is able to listen to 400 words per minute. And in such a scenario, what happens is the listener has a lot of idle time left with himself or herself. So in fact, statistically, it has been proven that the listener has 75% of the idle time and 25% only is being utilized by the listener. So we cannot expect the speaker to speak 400 words per minute. It's very difficult. But the listener, because he has ample time, idle time, it is quite obvious that the listener can get distracted by various factors. The factors could range from, for example, noise in the surrounding, or it could be maybe the use of the smartphone. That could be a major factor of distraction. So when there are distractions, the learner is not paying attention to what the teacher is teaching. And so therefore, the learners might get bored of listening to the teacher at times. And then there could be some learners who are smart enough to keep themselves engaged. So they will be using their cell phones in the class or the smartphones in the class. And there could be some learners who might take this opportunity to have a nice nap. And there could be some learners who might just, get confused with what the teacher is teaching because they are not able to understand the content as they are passive recipients of information, or they are listening partially to what the teacher is teaching. So what the teacher is teaching doesn't register in the minds of the learners. Okay, this could be, again, in an online platform, it could be due to connectivity issues. That could also be a problem, the network problems, there could be a problem with that. And so the learners, they lose the connection with what the teacher has taught, and they're not able to link it, and thus the confusion arises. So we find that in this particular situation, this type of learners are not involved in the learning process. And therefore, as they are not involved in the learning process, they are not able to, grasp the information, or they are not attentive or focused in the class. So my question is, do we need to change ourselves? So the answer is, yes, we need to change ourselves. In what way can we change ourselves? Or we can change ourselves by understanding the fact that what we were doing so many years, it is basically an one-way communication process whereby the teacher teaches and the learners are supposed to only listen and understand. Now, we want to change the entire scenario to a two-way communication process whereby there is an interaction between the teacher and the learners. So what the teacher can do is change the classroom environment to an interactive class. In an interactive class, the learners, they get an opportunity to interact with the teacher in the form of asking questions, number one. Secondly, by incorporating their ideas. Number three, that's number two. And number three, by providing suggestions to the teacher, so that the teacher can learn from the learners and the learners can also learn from the teacher. So in this interactive class, I would say that the teacher is solely responsible for creating this atmosphere, as the teacher is the initiator of the communication process. So the teacher's efforts are definitely needs to be put in order to change the classroom environment to an interactive class. So the teacher can, in fact, encourage active participation from the learners in order to make it into an interactive class. This active participation can be done in two major ways, but there could be some other ways also, but here I'll be talking about only two major ways, that is in the form of questioning and or in the form of designing activities. Now, when I'm talking about questioning, this is something, that all teachers will agree that we all are asked questions in the class. So what is new about questioning? We definitely ask questions, but then we need to reflect upon or need to think about on the questions that we are asking. Are those questions relevant, or what is the purpose of incorporating those questions in the curriculum? So if those questions are relevant, then of course we are serving a purpose, but then otherwise these questions might just be considered to be rhetorical questions. Let me give you the example. There are two categories of questions. One is the open-ended question, the other is the close-ended question. Now, a detailed information about the open-ended and close-ended question will be dealt by Dr. Manju Pillai Madam, but I would like to share my views on the open-ended versus close-ended question. Now, both these questions are relevant, but the teacher has to find out what is the purpose of asking a question before they choose either the open-ended or the close-ended question. Now, let me go to the open-ended question. What are these? Open-ended questions are questions whereby the teacher tries to acquire information from the learners in the form of their views or the opinions, or the teacher wants the learners to think about a particular problem from different perspectives. Now, these open-ended questions, for example, let me give you this example. If the teacher asks a student, how is your day going? So each and all the students will have their own view or their own way of answering this question. None of the, all the answers are right in their own way. Nothing is wrong over here. Everything is right. It is only trying to encourage the learners to think about their day from considering their own experience about their day. Another example could be, what do you think about love marriages? Now, this particular question will also depend upon the understanding of the learners, or how they see this particular aspect, or what information they have about this particular issue. So accordingly, every learner will come with a different opinion or a different answer. So these questions are indeed useful when the purpose of the teacher is to develop an understanding between himself and the learner. So if I want to build a rapport with my learners, I want to build an understanding with my learners, I will ask open-ended questions, because I want the learners, all the learners to participate, and all the learners to come up with their own views or their own opinions. And this I can do in a smaller class, for example, in a tutorial class, where I can interact with the learner in a one-to-one situation. Now, this open-ended question, you might be very familiar about the interviews. In the interviews, the interviewers, in order to make the candidate feel comfortable and overcome their nervousness, they ask a couple of open-ended questions before they resort to the close-ended questions. Okay, so now we move on to the close-ended questions. Close-ended questions could be in the form of a yes-no question for which there is a specific answer. Whether if you have been to France, for example, you say yes in the affirmative, or if you have not been to France, you answer in the negative. So there's a yes-no question. Now, these yes-no questions are very helpful, but to a certain extent, it can serve the purpose, but it does not serve the purpose completely, because if the close-ended questions are not framed appropriately, they can actually lead the teacher nowhere. Okay, for example, suppose while teaching a particular topic, the teacher in between his or her lesson uses a close-ended questions like this. Are you all there with me? So in this particular question, there might be a few learners who might respond to the question. Most of the learners may not respond to the question, and the teacher may not give much importance to the responses of the students. So the teacher might just go ahead with his or her topic. That's because this is a rhetorical question, and the answer the teacher has already assumed, or the teacher has already anticipated the answer. So therefore, this type of questions do not actually lead to active participation. So in order to frame a close-ended question, the teacher needs to use the multiple choice question as a better option, because the purpose of a classroom situation is the teacher wants the learners to participate actively in the teaching learning process. And so when a multiple question is framed, the teacher allows the learner to remain focused or to draw their attention to the options given, and from these options they have to select one answer. So the answer could be correct or the answer could be wrong, but they're selecting one answer. And in fact, the teacher can make it absolutely mandatory for all the learners to respond to this multiple choice question, thereby initiating active participation in the class. And when multiple choice questions are introduced by the teacher, what happens is the learners, they become active participants because they know they have to remain focused in the class. They have to pay attention to the class. So indirectly, we are drawing attention of the learners to what the teacher is saying. So what I suggest is the teacher has to introduce or rather incorporate multiple choice question or close-ended question in the class in order to change the atmosphere of the classroom to an active participation or to an interactive class. And now I would like to share with you certain ideas or certain quotes from well-known thinkers who have given their views on the importance of questioning. So here it is. The greatest gift is not being afraid to question. That is by Ruby D. And then we have, if you do not know how to ask the right question, you discover nothing. That is by Edward Deming. And then life is an unanswered question, but let's still believe in the dignity and importance of the question. That is by Tennessee Williams. So you can understand how important the art of questioning, or rather the aspect of questioning plays in the teaching learning process or in every aspect of our life. So now we go to the next part of encouraging active participation, that is in the form of designing varied activities. Now, when the teacher designs varied activities, what the teacher is doing is involving all the learners in the learning process. And by designing activities, the teacher has to take care not to repeat the activities, but to be always different with the activities, always try and bring about, a different element of, a challenge maybe, or a competition maybe, so that, the learners, they get motivated or they get encouraged to participate in the activity. So when I'm talking about different activities, the learners or the teacher can design activities by incorporating a song, for example, or by designing an activity that requires the learner to use the smartphone or the computer, because the present generation is very comfortable with the technological devices and they automatically get motivated if they have to use technology. And so therefore the learners can actually participate in this manner. And then the teacher could also design role play activities, or activities could be designed whereby the learners, they have the ability or they are encouraged to discuss with their peers and arrive at a solution. So there are a variety of activities that the teachers can design. And once the teacher is designing the variety of activities, what is the teacher doing is catering to the different learning styles. So we all know that learners come from different backgrounds. The background of a learner could be different in terms of the economic background or in terms of the exposure they have to the classroom scenario, or the difference could be in the way the learners prefer to learn a particular aspect. For example, let me give you my own example. When I got the first time when I got the opportunity to use the computer, I did not know how to use the computer. I was extremely puzzled as to how to use the computer, how to switch on the computer, how to handle the mouse. I did not know anything. So when I asked some of my friends, they gave me certain verbal instructions on how to use the computer, but that did not help me at all because I could not understand anything from those verbal instructions. So finally, I came across a friend who actually gave me a hands-on experience on how to use the computer. So that was indeed helpful because through that method, I actually learned how to use the computer. So in this manner, I think each learner prefers to learn in a particular way. And sometimes it becomes difficult for the teacher to identify the different learning styles. So it is better if the teacher assumes that there is a difference in the learning styles because all the learners have varied learning styles. So let me design activities keeping in mind the different learning styles of the learners. So now this becomes interesting because once the learners get exposed to these activities, they start, pondering, or they start thinking on the purpose of the activity first of all, and secondly, they start thinking on what skill they've acquired by doing this particular activity. What was the aim of the activity, and what skill was acquired by this particular activity? So we are encouraging learners to think on that particular activity, to ponder on that particular activity. And then this thinking actually leads to deeper learning. And then this deeper learning can be actually extended or can transferred to newer situations, to different situations. For example, the learner while reading a book, for example, can, start questioning the writer, even though he or she cannot see the writer, but can assume that the writer can be heard or can be seen. And then once the interaction process begins by in the form of questions, the learners can try and find the answers from the text itself. And this questioning actually leads to deeper learning and deeper understanding of the concept. So when I talk about involving the learners in different activities, I'm actually taking the concept of Edgar Day's concept of learn by performing. According to Dale, there's a Dale's cone of experience. I'm sure you have already understood the Dale's cone of experience, as Dr. Arun Pillai sir has already explained to you about Dale's cone of experience. So without going to the details of it, I would like to point at one particular aspect. So when I'm talking about learn by performing, according to Dale, when the learners, they perform, they retain 90% of the information. For example, when they are designing a presentation, for example, or performing a presentation, they learn better. They learn more when they are doing that. And instead of, getting a theoretical knowledge about the presentation, so when they are involved in the act of role play, for example, or when they're involved in the act of real life situations, then automatically they learn better because they can retain 90% of the information. Not only do they retain 90% of the information, according to Dale, they are able to achieve the higher order thinking skills. That is the skill of analysis, the skill of evaluation, and the skill of creation. I would like to add one more skill over here that they learn, that is the skill of empathy. So it is only when we understand, or we perform, or we are involved in the particular activity, then we understand the difficulty level of that particular activity, and this leads us to empathize with different people. For example, let me give you two examples over here. One example is, let me take the example of a circus. So when we go and watch a circus, we are absolutely enthralled, and we are dumbstruck at the way the performers they perform such dangerous or such risk-taking acts. And most of the time we are also, at the same time, there is a fear factor. So suppose something goes wrong, they might lose their life, or then an accident can occur. So these type of thoughts go into our mind. But what if a particular performer falters in the process? During his performance, he makes a mistake, and when he makes a mistake, the entire that particular show it cannot be executed further because of that mistake. So most of the time, instead of understanding the difficulties faced by the performers, we tend to say that this performer did not practice well, did not try and take the effort to rehearse his part. Okay, these are the comments that we pass on. So when we pass on these comments, we do not understand that what can be the difficulty level of these people. So let me give you the act. When we are asked to do that act, because most of the time we will be so afraid to perform those kind of acts, so we will not be able to do those acts, and we will not be able to actually entertain and be entertained ourselves. So before even trying to comment or criticize someone for their act, we should actually try and think how difficult it might be for the person who is actually going through that process. Let me take another example. It's a common example. For example, the cricket match. We want the Indians to win the match. All of us want India to win the match. But what we do is we become very emotional when India plays the match, and we want everything to be perfect. All the players should be able to play in a perfect manner. Now, they are also human beings. We do not realize that. So suppose if India is on the verge of losing, so automatically the audience, the spectators, they shower abuses on the players. They even criticize to the extent of giving certain personal comments. For example, this player is only playing for the sake of money, because he wants the money, and he's not interested in winning the match, and so on and so forth. But we don't understand this one aspect, that when we are asked to perform, when we go to the particular situation and we have to face the Australians, for example, it could be very difficult. The difficulty level could be on the basis of the weather conditions, for example, or it could be on the basis of the pitch. Okay, so we do not know. There could be so many other difficulties, there for the players. So what I'm trying to say is, we develop our empathetic skills when we allow the learners to get involved in the process of working, or in the opportunity to do the particular act, or to do the project, for example, all by themselves, before they can understand and stop criticizing the performers. Okay, with this, I would like to take you to the objective of my presentation today. The objective is, first of all, I would introduce reflective strategies, whereby I'm going to talk about the importance of reflection, and I'm also going to talk about how introducing reflective strategies can actually help the learners become active participants in the learning process. And then I'm going to talk about how I can involve all the learners in the learning process, because that is a challenge, and we all the teachers should try and meet this challenge. And then I would also talk about how collaboration, encouraging collaboration in the class, discussing with the peers and trying to solve a particular task can actually help the learners learn better and learn faster. And I would also like to talk about how to implement games in the classroom, in an online platform, and how games by itself could be a reflective strategy for the learner. And then I would also talk about by introducing games, I'm changing the atmosphere of the classroom to a formal, from a formal to an informal atmosphere. So this atmosphere finally results in better learning because the learners are motivated, they are encouraged, and they are relaxed, and so therefore they learn faster, they learn better, and they incorporate their ideas in a much better manner. So now I would like to take you to the structure of my presentation today, or the structure of my module today. So the first section will deal with the meaning and purpose of reflection. The second section, I will talk about games as an interactive tool. The third section, I will deal with constructivism in game-based learning. The fourth section, I will talk about implementation of game-based learning. And in the fifth section, I will give you a hands-on experience in designing games. Now, for today's session, I will be dealing with the first two sections, that is the meaning and purpose of reflection and games as an interactive tool. So before I, when I start explaining to you the meaning and purpose of reflection, I would like to incorporate an example over here so that you can understand better the meaning of reflection. So let us take this example, a familiar example. You must be all familiar with this particular situation whereby we always, look at ourselves in the mirror in order to find out. What do we find out? We want to find out whether the hairstyle that we have chosen, whether it is appropriate, the dress that we have chosen, whether it is appropriate, the makeup that we have applied, whether it is appropriate, that is, it is suitable to a particular occasion. Now, let us take the example of attending a birthday party. So when we plan to attend a birthday party, we choose a particular dress that is suitable for that occasion, for the birthday party. So as per the dress that we have chosen, we try to adjust our hairstyle as per the dress. We also try to adjust the makeup as per the dress. And before we leave the house to attend the birthday party, we want to check whether it confirms whether we have done perfectly all right, but when we have perfectly adjusted everything, or we have perfectly tried and created that particular scenario where everybody will accept us in the birthday party. So what I'm trying to say is that when we are doing this, when we are looking at ourselves in the mirror, we are observing ourselves very carefully. So as we are observing, there might be a situation where we need to change the tone of the makeup. We need to, maybe reduce the makeup, or we need to try and add more makeup in order to make us feel more acceptable in the birthday party, or we need to make changes in our hairstyle, or we need to make changes in the dress that we have selected. So when we are trying to make those adjustments, what are we trying to do is we are trying to look at ourselves, observe ourselves carefully, make those adjustments to suit the particular occasion. And this, when we are doing it, we are actually enjoying and smiling all the time as we are doing it. And so what I'm trying to say is, when we ourselves make those changes in the process, then there is no problem. But we wouldn't like someone else to comment on a dress. We wouldn't like someone else to comment on a hairstyle. And similarly, we wouldn't like someone else to comment on the makeup, because it could be very embarrassing for us. It could be also humiliating for us. So when we do the changes ourselves, when we analyze and make judgments about what we have done, and then bring about the changes according to the requirements of the occasion, so we are involved in the act of reflection. So what I'm trying to say over here is this is a very simple example, and we all are involved in this kind of situation. But this situation can be taken to the classroom situation where we can encourage the learners or train the learners how to reflect upon, for example, if they've written an assignment or they've answered a particular question, then they can actually reflect upon how, in what way they have answered the question. For example, if they've given a problem to solve, a mathematical problem, they need to find out whether they have incorporated all these steps while solving the problem, or is there any error while writing the steps. For example, if they're writing a paragraph, they need to find out whether there are errors in the construction of sentences or there are spelling mistakes, so they can bring about the changes all by themselves. And this actually helps the learner learn better. So we have to train them in the act of reflection. So what I'm trying to say is, what is reflection then? Reflection actually involves a serious thought. Unless and until the learners are focused in the particular act, or they are focused in the particular task, they cannot give a serious thought to what they have done. They need to seriously think about all these aspects, and for this we need to train the learners how to think seriously. Maybe initially we need to put down the questions for them so that they think on those lines, and gradually they understand or they become habituated to use those questions, and thus they can proceed further with their reflection. Then I would also say that it involves contemplation. They can contemplate on the different strategies that they can be used in order to solve a particular problem, for example, or in order to write a paragraph. You can use different words, different skills, okay, to write a paragraph, or to solve a particular problem. So then it also allows the learner to consider. So once they start thinking from different perspectives, they will also learn to select one of the perspectives which they find to be the most appropriate and the most relevant to that particular situation. So the reflection is indeed not an easy task. It is a difficult one. But then if we train the learners and make them habituated in this particular aspect, it will not become a very difficult task for the learners. They will learn how to do it, and it becomes, in fact, we are actually trying to take the learners from a dependent learner to an independent learner. That is what we are trying to do. And it is essential, considering the situation, or considering the trend nowadays. The learners have to become independent. Most of the time, the learners, till the final year, I find, some of the students in the final year of engineering, they are still dependent learners. They want the teacher to tell them everything, whether it is right or whether it is wrong. So if they can learn it all by their own, then they become independent learners. So they can only ask the teacher to help them when it is absolutely necessary for the teacher to help them. Otherwise, that they can actually proceed towards becoming independent learners. So now I would like to take you to the concept of reflection and critical thinking, because these two concepts are most of the time used as synonyms. But I would say that these are not synonyms. In fact, they are two different things. For example, critical thinking. First, I'll explain critical thinking. Now, critical thinking involves the conscious ability, the conscious efforts of the learners to incorporate a skill or a strategy in order to solve a problem. For example, when I say a problem, the problem could be a mathematical problem. The problem could be solving a case study, for example. The problem could be, formulating inferences, or the problem could be making decisions, or the problem could be in the form of an activity. They have to perform the activity. So in order to perform the activity, in order to complete the activity, they need to incorporate a particular skill or a particular strategy that would help them to complete the activity. So critical thinking is consciously implemented by the learners. And because it is consciously implemented, therefore we say that the process of critical thinking is purposeful, it is reasoned, and it is goal-directed. So here I would like to say, then what is reflective thinking? Reflective thinking is a process that follows after critical thinking. In fact, reflective thinking involves the process by which the learners, after implementing the strategy, would like to go back to what they have implemented and start analyzing from different perspectives, from different angles, and make judgments about it. So the judgments could be based on the purpose of the activity. The judgments could be based on the requirements of the audience, the requirements of the teacher, and accordingly they can make changes if they want to make changes. And this way they also learn better. So sometimes, while reflecting, they can come up with a new strategy that could be really helpful to them in newer situations. So let me explain to you the difference between critical thinking and reflective thinking with the help of an example. Let us take the example of COVID-19. Now, in this pandemic situation, there are many agencies or organizations that have come up with the solution of how to fight the virus or how to protect oneself from the virus. Now, one such situation, one such recommendation or a suggestion came from WHO that you should wear the 3-layered mask or the triple-layered mask so that we can protect ourselves from the infected from the virus. Now, what is happening is when the WHO recommended this particular strategy, they were involved in the process of critical thinking. Now, in order to find out to what extent the strategy has been beneficial or it is effective for the public or for the people, then the WHO needs to go for an analysis of, or go for a survey how many people have actually used the 3-layered mask and to what extent they have been able to protect themselves from getting infected from the virus. And when they start analyzing, they find out it's the effect of this particular strategy, and they also try to find out the benefits of wearing the 3-layered mask. So when they're trying to find out the benefits, the effect of the 3-layered mask by taking a survey or taking a feedback from the people, then that is the process of reflective thinking. So I would say that there is a critical thinking and reflective thinking. They are different, but I would also like to say over here that reflective thinking is a part of critical thinking, because immediately after critical thinking, reflective thinking should follow. Reflective thinking cannot come before critical thinking. Reflective thinking should be followed by critical thinking. And we have always trained our learners to a certain extent how to involve themselves in critical thinking, but we have not trained our learners how to involve themselves in reflective thinking. So the time has come where we need to actually incorporate reflective thinking as in a curriculum so that all the learners are able to learn better. With this, I would like to take you to the purpose of reflection. Here, I would like to talk about that reflection is an active process. Now, in my previous slide, I spoke to you about how we can encourage active participation in the classroom. We can encourage active participation also by introducing reflective strategy. So the moment we include reflective strategy in our classroom, automatically the learners become more focused, they become more attentive, and they become more serious. They start concentrating, and that is how they become active learners. And they also become disciplined learners, because incorporating the reflective strategy, you have to do it systematically. It cannot be done in a haphazard manner. It has to be done systematically, and one has to follow the steps in order to acquire that information. And of course, it is a deliberate strategy. We want the learners to deliberately incorporate reflective strategies, or the teachers to deliberately incorporate reflective strategy in the teaching learning process, so whereby the learners they get a better understanding of the work that they have done, or whether they can question themselves on what they have learned. And it definitely improves the understanding of the learners, and it involves the learner in the process of learning, and it helps the learner to develop strategies. As I told you, multiple strategies could be developed on the way the learner uses the reflective strategies, or trying to develop different perspectives towards a particular problem. And towards this, I would like to take you through an activity which is called as a physics song, which is sung by Kyle Davidson. So I would like all of you to read the instructions before I can play the song for you. The first instruction is you have to take a notebook and write numbers from 1 to 20. A song will be played, which will be also be visible on the screen. As you will see, there are certain blank spaces which are numbered. You will be required to fill in the blank spaces by listening to the song. The song will be played only once. But however, they will find 3 options besides each blank space. You need to incorporate the correct option, choose the correct option. So you need to be attentive. All this while, you need to be attentive and ready with your notebook and pen, because the song will be played only once. After you have noted down the answers in your notebook, you need to fill the same answers in the Google form link that will be shared in the chat box. And within 5 minutes, you need to complete this Google form link, because this activity is graded. And so therefore, I wish you all the luck. I hope you have written down the numbers from 1 to 20, all of you, and so that I can start playing the song. Just give me a minute. I will share my screen. I hope you can all see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, it is seen.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Is this causing a disturbance? No? You can see the entire screen, right?
Yes, ma'am, entire screen.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered why a bell rings, or why a ping pong ball pings, or why a rocket ship flies so high, or why the moon doesn't just say goodbye? I'll tell you the answer, it's rather easy, but at the same time, kind of cheesy. But by the end of this song, you'll know everything you'll need to know about PHYSICS physics. Yeah, it's PHYSICS physics. Physics is fun, but a lot of work. But we all know work is just force times distance. So does that mean that just by going to class, I've already done half the work? No. So I guess that means that physics class defies PHYSICS physics. Yeah, it's PHYSICS physics. The train was coming through the station, and I said force equals mass times acceleration. And my friends all laughed because they said it was funny, and I said, no, it's not funny, because it's PHYSICS physics. Yeah, it's PHYSICS physics. My velocity initial is equal to my velocity final plus acceleration times time. My acceleration is negative 9.8 meters per second squared. So I guess that means that I was in free fall. I was in free fall, because it was one of the 3 kinematical equations. Because it's PHYSICS physics. Yeah, it's PHYSICS physics. The other day, my friend came to me, and I'll be real between distance and displacement. So I said, man up and looked me in the eye. Displacement is not the extra in an interval of time. And he said, thanks, that makes a lot of sense. And I said, welcome to the wonderful magical world of PHYSICS physics. That's PHYSICS physics. Everybody, PHYSICS physics. PHYSICS physics. PHYSICS
I would request Deeptina Madam to kindly share the Google form link.
Yes, ma'am, I've done that. It is there in the chat box.
Share the responses so everyone can see the responses.
Can you see this, ma'am?
One minute, I'll just take this, drag this. Yes, I can see. Did I understand? Also, participants, I hope you can also see the screen, the responses. So the answer to the first question, did I understand the lyrics of the song? Most of them have said they've somewhat understood. There are a few of them have said, of course, they're understood. And when we come to the next part, Madam, can you just scroll down a little? Yes. So did I check to make sure all the blanks were filled? Most maximum of them said that they really, they checked the whether they filled all the blanks. That is a very good thing. That is a thing that we need to train the learners to do that also. Do I need to listen to the song again? There are a few of them who said that they need to listen to the song. The others who have said, very few have said that they do not need to listen to the song. The others have said that yes, I mean, it is not visible actually. The screen is not visible to me. There's no clarity. Maximum of them have said that they need to listen to the song, but what is this? Madam, can you read it out, the last option?
Yeah, the last one is, yes, this will help me to check my answers for correctness. So
Okay.
majority of them have gone for that.
Okay, majority of them gone for that. And the next question is, do I need more time, more attentive, to be more attentive next time when I listen to the song? Maximum of them have said yes, they need to be more attentive. So as this was a listening activity, so therefore one needs to be attentive while listening. And as I said, that listening is not an easy task. It requires effort, it requires concentration. And with this, I would like to share my presentation once again. Okay, so again, I move ahead with the purpose of reflection. I start by saying that the reflection allows the learner to evaluate their understanding as you have evaluated your understanding, and it also develops higher order thinking skills. The higher order thinking skills, I mean the skill of analysis, evaluation, and creation according to the Bloom's taxonomy. And then you can transfer learning to other situations. What you have learned from a particular activity need not be restricted only to that particular activity. It can be transferred to other situations as well. And then it also gives the teacher an opportunity for reformulation. So reflection is not only restricted to the learners, reflection is also is applicable to the teachers, because they need to reflect upon the activity that they've incorporated during the class, and they need to find out to what extent they can make changes in the activity in order to make it more challenging for the learners, and so on and so forth. And then I would next I would like all of you to be a part of the activity which gives importance to the higher order thinking skills. So this activity, as you can see, there are two envelopes over here. So I will click on the first envelope, and as I click on the envelope, I can see some words written over here. These words belong to the category of abstract nouns. And then I click on the second envelope. And when I click on the second envelope, I can see some words written over here. These words belong to the category of concrete nouns. So now I want all the participants to select any two words from category A, that is abstract nouns, and any two words from category B, that is concrete nouns, and use these words in sentences so that it forms a meaningful unit. So when you're using it in sentences, you can choose any topic of your choice. For example, you can choose the topic of your favorite book or your favorite movie, or you can choose your most memorable day, or even you can choose about COVID-19. So what you can do is you have to remember only certain things. You need not write more than 4 sentences while you are combining these words that you have selected. You have to take care of connecting the sentences, and you also have to take care in organizing your ideas so that it forms a meaningful unit. So towards this, you will be getting only 10 minutes, and you have to write your responses in a chat box so that everybody gets an opportunity to read whatever you have written, and also gets an idea how you can incorporate, words, abstract nouns and concrete nouns together.
Time is up, madam. So shall I share the response?
Yes.
Ma'am, can you see this?
I mean, it is not very clear, the visibility is very poor. Can you just read out the option?
Okay. Yeah. The first one is, did I understand the activity? Majority of them have gone for yes, but I need to question myself whether I understood it correctly.
Okay.
And 16.7% have gone for no, I did not. I want the instructor to explain it again.
Okay.
The second question was, what is expected from the activity? And majority of them generating ideas that require the conscious.
Okay. Very well said.
And third was, do I have any information that can help me to complete the activity effectively? Majority of them have gone for yes. I know what is the difference between abstract and concrete nouns, and I'm familiar with the sentence construction.
Very good. Good response.
Question 4 was, can I use the information that I already have to complete the activity? Here again, the majority have gone for yes. I can use mind mapping technique to generate ideas. This will help me to write the paragraph in a more organized way.
Okay, very nice.
Next one was, in the process of writing, did I try to reflect on what I'm trying to learn from it? 61.5% have gone for yes. I tried to find out the purpose of the activity.
Okay, very good.
And the last one was, once I completed writing the paragraph, did I check before handing it over to the instructor? A very mixed reaction, ma'am. Here, you can say 46.2% have gone for yes, I checked to make sure that I included the abstract and concrete nouns correctly. And 30% have responded saying that yes, I checked the paragraph for errors.
Okay.
Like that. And equal weightage for yes, I checked whether my ideas were connected, and no, I was sure that I did not make any mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am, this is it.
Wow. So you can all see the responses. Okay, fine. You got a fair idea how each one of us reflects on a particular activity or what they have acquired from that activity. Now, towards this, I would like to share my presentation once again. You can all see my presentation, right? Can you see my presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you. So now I would like to go ahead with how to introduce reflection in the classroom. Now, as teachers, how can we introduce reflection in the classroom? Well, the obvious answer is we can include reflection by designing activities that force the learners to reflect on the activity itself. As you might have been aware of, when this activity was given to you, you actually try to find out the purpose of the activity first. That is very, very important. So that made you to reflect um, on the activity, on the purpose of the activity. Now, when the teacher is designing activities, certain aspects needs to be taken care of. For example, the teacher has to see to it that all the learners are included in the learning process. Second, the teacher needs to take care that the activity involves the learner in the learning process. Then the third important aspect is it should enable the learners to discuss with their peers. The fourth one is that this activity should have a specified learning outcome. Very important. The envelope activity, the learning outcome was related to the higher order thinking skills of analyzing, of evaluating, and of course of creating as well. And this next important thing is that the teacher has to deliberately include reflective questions during and after so that the learners can have a better understanding of what they have done. So with this, I would like to go on to my next assignment, graded assignment. It is a graded quiz on reflective strategies. So I would request Dipti Nair Madam to kindly share the link in the chat box. And okay,
Done, ma'am.
so learners, participants, kindly click on the link and answer the reflective questions, reflective strategies question. You get 3 minutes only to answer this question.
Last 1 minute is remaining, ma'am.
Okay, okay. I hope all of them are submitting the responses.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Still, 3 are yet to be received by us.
Okay, okay.
The time is up.
Okay. Participants, the time is up. All the responses have been received, madam?
No, ma'am. Few are still remaining.
Okay. So shall we go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. I think we should, because already it's 5 o'clock.
Okay. Fine. So with this, I would like to tell all the participants that you have got a fair idea about reflective questions and reflective strategies. So I have already given you 2 examples how to incorporate reflective strategies after each activity. Now I would like to actually use a lot of games and incorporate a lot of games in during this session, but I will not be including the reflective strategies because you've got a fair idea. You can do it from your end when you are incorporating games in your online sessions. So here I have a surprise for you. Now I would like all of you to read the instructions for this online treasure hunt game. It is a 5 minutes game and you have to complete the game within 5 minutes. So first of all, you have to click on the link given in the chat box. So when you click on the link, you'll go to File, you'll go to PowerPoint presentation. There you have to select the file option. You will find an option Download As. Click on it and download a copy. And sometimes a pop-up might appear, but you still have to click Download. You download a copy, open the presentation, and you will be directed to the slideshow mode or the presentation mode. Click on the play button to start playing. You might have to wait for a few seconds before the game gets loaded. As you can see, there are numbers written from 1 to 8. Behind each number, there are certain questions, there are riddles in fact, and you have to select, there are options given. So you have to select any one option. If it is a correct option, okay, then of course there is an appreciation because you have done it correctly. But if there is a wrong option, of course, there is a sad expression that is being expressed. What I mean to say is the numbers you can select randomly. It's not necessary that you have to go systematically from 1 to 8. You can select randomly. The main idea is to find the treasure. So you get only 2 minutes to find the treasure. So why wait? Get started. Okay, thank you. So that was the end of my section 1. Now I go on to the second section, that is games as an interactive tool. So with this, I would like all of you to answer this question. What are the advantages of using games in the classroom and the disadvantages? And you can see the poll question over there. So please do it fast. So with this, I would thank you for participants for sharing your opinion about introducing games in the classroom. So I will close the poll and I will go to games as an interactive tool. So here I will be talking about that when we introduce games, automatically it becomes an interactive tool because you are interacting either as an individual, you're interacting with yourself, that is you're interacting in the form of, there is some sort of sound or there's an applause, when you get the correct answer. So that is a form of, that is in a way you are interacting. It helps the learner to work in a relaxed and informal atmosphere. I feel then when the atmosphere changes from informal to an informal, learning takes place in a much better way. And then learning becomes enjoyable and fun, and you can interact freely with your peers, and you can develop new and innovative strategies, the strategies which you never even thought of. You can develop those strategies in order to win the game. So the purpose should be to win the game. The purpose should be to get the reward after you have played the game. And it enhances cognitive and problem solving skills. So when there is a problem in front of you, you have to tackle the problem and you have to solve the problem so that you reach a solution to the problem. So with that a particular thought in your mind, if you play the game, then you can come up with innovative strategies. And it also allows the learner to reflect. So after you played the game, suppose if you did not find the treasure, just to give you an example, if you did not find the treasure, what will you do? You will try to find out the reason as to why you did not find the treasure. So what strategy needs to be implemented in order to find the treasure? So if my strategy was to select each number, serially, then I would have, lost my time. My time would have been over. So if I select the numbers randomly, there is a possibility that I could get the treasure easily, or I could just go directly to the treasure. So that could be incorporated and that could be reflected upon by the learners after playing the game. So with that, I would like you all to play this game so that you understand how games can be interactive. So this is the noughts and crosses game. And for this, I will give you 10 minutes. So first, Nidipti madam, would you please post the link in the chat box? So you have to click on the link given in the chat box. You will be directed to EduCandy website. Now the game has been created using a customized website. So select the game of noughts and crosses. There are many other games available, but you have to select only the game of noughts and crosses. You will be directed to the game. Then you will be asked to choose your opponent. So either you can choose the opponent as another player, or you can choose the computer as an opponent. Here, I would like you all to select the computer as an opponent. Then a picture of a cartoon can be seen on the upper right corner. Above the picture, you'll find 3 boxes with symbols. Click on the symbol with 4 dots. This will show you the game on the full screen. In the game, there will be a rectangle with grids. On this rectangle, inside these rectangles, you will find some years mentioned. Okay. So, for example, 1914, 1939, and so on. The clues for identifying the significance of the years is provided outside the box. So what you have to do is select and drag the clue corresponding to the year. You can randomly choose the clues. It is not necessary that you have to go systematically. You can randomly choose the clues, and then the correct answer. When you give a correct answer, when you drag the clues and place it in a particular year, or place in a particular box which has a year mentioned on it. So if it is a correct answer, it will be indicated by a cross. And a wrong answer will not allow you to put the clue in the rectangular box. You will get only one chance. That is one chance you will get. The other chance, the computer will get the next chance, and so on and so forth. If you're able to place all the crosses in a row, you win the game. Or either you win the game, or the computer wins the game, or it could be a draw. Okay, so that is how the game should be played. You can play the game only once, so you need to play it as soon as possible. Dipti madam, how much time is left?
Ma'am, 3 more minutes remaining.
Okay, okay.
Few of them have finished playing it.
Uh-huh. Dipti madam,
Yes, ma'am.
time is up.
Yes, ma'am. I think we can proceed because they have finished playing.
Okay. Interesting as okay, I shall proceed. The participants who are not able to complete the game, you can play it afterwards. I can share the link with you all so that you get an idea how games can be designed so that it can become an interactive one. So with this, I like to go ahead with my presentation. So first, I would like to say what are the important aspects when we design a game? What are the things that we need to keep in mind while designing a game? The first thing that we need to keep in mind is we have to include the element of playfulness when we design a game. And then the second important aspect is the importance of competition. There should be competition, so there should be a time limit allotted to the learners while they play the game. And then we should encourage collective thinking when they're playing the game. And then we should design the game in such a way so that it is challenging for the learner because it is an educational game, and so that they become responsible while playing the game, and they also become more focused while playing the game. So these are the these are some of the aspects that you need to keep in mind while designing a game. And now I move on to the next part, that is the classification of games. Games can be classified into two major categories, that is entertainment games and learning games. The entertainment games are the ones that are available in the market in the form of digital interactions, and these games the learners are find it very engrossing, and they also find it very interesting, as most of the learners children actually of the present generation, they are engrossed in playing these particular games. These are in the form of video games or computer games. And as we can find that in this particular game, there is the element of fun, and there is also the element of reward involved in these games. Now, these entertainment games, the purpose of these entertainment games are only to entertain the audience, and they don't have an educational purpose there. So there is no element of education in this particular games. But incidentally, the learners might acquire a skill while playing this game. So it is not intended, but incidentally, they might acquire a skill. Whereas when we go to the learning games, the teacher designs the game keeping in mind the learning outcomes that needs to be achieved. So the learning games are basically called as the educational games. So these educational games keep in mind the element of fun, as well as the reward that should be involved in this type of games. But these games, they have a defined learning outcomes, and so therefore they cater to the needs and requirements in the education process. And so these games are not distracting for the learners, but in fact they are a part of the curriculum. So it is a way of making the learners involved in the learning process. At the same time, it is also a way of teaching a skill to the learner or testing the skill for the learner. And it achieves the short-term as well as the long-term goals while we design these learning games. So these are very important aspects that we need to keep in mind. The learning games, they have to be designed on a definite, on a specified learning outcome on the basis of Bloom's taxonomy, so that we can achieve short-term and long-term goals. So when we are designing games that pertain to the lower order skills, we are achieving the short-term goals. And when we go and design a game that achieves the higher order thinking skills, then we are achieving the long-term goals. So with this, I would like all of you to play this game, which is called as a puzzle game. And for this, again, you need to click on the link given in the chat box. So Dipti madam will post the link in the chat box. So you click on the link given in the chat box, go to file, you'll find an option download as, click on it and download a copy. So even if a pop-up appears, click download, open the presentation and start playing without clicking on the slide mode, because the presentation mode, because this game will not respond in the slideshow mode or in the presentation mode. So you just need to open the presentation and start playing the game. Read the contents page and cover page of each book displayed from slide number 1 to 4 and anticipate the gist of the 4 stories or the 4 books. Go to the slide with the multiple choice questions incorporated in it. Select the correct answer to each question. Now go to the slide with the puzzle pieces. Each puzzle piece has an answer mentioned on it. However, some of the answers are incorrect. Hence, the puzzle pieces are not going to fit in correctly if chosen. On the basis of the serial number of the correct answers, select the corresponding puzzle piece to complete the puzzle. On completion, write the name of the personality in the chat box. So you get 15 minutes for this game, but if you can complete it faster, I would really appreciate it. How much time remaining, Dipti madam?
Have 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes? Okay. Okay.
Ma'am, we have got one answer.
Yes, I have seen the answer. Only one answer. So I have seen.
Ma'am, after fixing the puzzle, the personality which comes, we have to write the name of that personality.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Dipti madam, is the time up?
Ma'am, 2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes. Okay, okay. There is only one correct answer. So therefore, the personality that you will get will be only one. It cannot be all three.
Ma'am, time is up.
Okay. So those participants who have not been able to complete the game, you can do it later because based on this game, in tomorrow's session, I have certain questions. So you need to play the game completely in order to be able to answer those questions. So I have actually another game that would help you to identify then how games can be designed, keeping in mind the important aspects that I have discussed with you all. So for this, since we are running out of time, I would request all of you to play the game later on. So for that, you can, I will even mail you the instructions so you can follow the instructions and then play the game in your own convenient time. But here also you need to play this game because for tomorrow's session, I have questions related to the puzzle game and the spinning wheel game. So if you do not play the game, you will not be able to answer the questions. So please play the game in your convenient time and so that you will be able to answer the questions. Okay, with this, I come to the end of the second session today, and I would like to thank all of you for participating in this today's session. And I would request all of you to kindly come up with your questions so that we can discuss and arrive at a solution to your doubts or to the difficulties that you faced while listening to this particular session. I think you can unmute yourself and ask questions.
Yes, ma'am, they can. They can unmute themselves.
Yeah, please unmute yourself and you can ask questions. Okay, so there are no questions. Fine. Okay, so there are no questions. Fine. Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, yes.
Ma'am, I guess there are questions in my mind, but I'm not able to play because of my laptop not working properly, and I'm not able to access the games through my mobile. So maybe once I play the games, if I have any queries, I'll get back to you. And probably once you explain them tomorrow in more details, we'll be able to understand much better.
Okay, fine.
Thank you for the session. It was lovely, and indeed, learning can become much more creative the way you playing games and stuff.
Yes. The effort should come from the teacher's end, actually. The teachers have to take an effort in designing games. The teachers have to take an effort in thinking and creating the games.
Yeah, it's seen through your presentation. The entire presentation is really been worked hard by you or whoever the team members are. It's been seen. It's lots of efforts.
Yeah, it requires efforts. If you want to give your best and if you want the learners to get involved in the learning process, then you have to put in your efforts and you have to be creative. And you have to design games in such a way so that it becomes really challenging for the learners.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and in tomorrow's session, in fact, I have a surprise for you towards the end. If you have the time, then I can really show you the surprise. There is a surprise in store, and I'm sure you will enjoy the surprise.
Surely we'll look forward to it.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody would like to ask any questions?
Ma'am, just one small announcement. The feedback link is posted in the chat box. So they can fill the feedback form now.
Yeah, you can fill the feedback form.
Dipti ma'am, Alivika ma'am, we are done with this session?
Yes, because they are just filling up the feedback form, so it is done. They have no questions, so it is done.
So the questions will come, ma'am. Tomorrow there will be flow of questions, ma'am.
Okay.
And thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. And the
Thank you.
participants have thoroughly enjoyed the session. It seems that they're still playing. They are with the game itself.
Okay.
Probably the link that we have put ahead, and I will forward all the links for the game of today's to them in today's activity. And they few of them have messaged me that they had some network connectivity issue, so they couldn't open it in the laptop, but we will forward it them.
Okay, yes, they can play at their own convenient time. They can play.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, with this, dear participants, we come to end of day 8. The link for the attendance has already been made available in the chat box. Please fill in the same, and we will see you tomorrow after that. Till then, stay safe, take care.
So I can now quit. I can end.
Ma'am, you may stop presenting, but you may stay.
Okay, fine. So with this, I like to go ahead with my presentation. So first, I would like to say what are the important aspects when we design a game? What are the things that we need to keep in mind while designing a game? The first thing that we need to keep in mind is we have to include the element of playfulness when we design a game. And then the second important aspect is the importance of competition. There should be competition, so there should be a time limit allotted to the learners while they play the game. And then we should encourage collective thinking when they're playing the game. And then we should design the game in such a way so that it is challenging for the learner, because it is an educational game, and so that they become responsible while playing the game. And they also become more focused while playing the game. So these are the these are some of the aspects that you need to keep in mind while designing a game. And now I move on to the next part, that is the classification of games. Games can be classified into two major categories, that is entertainment games and learning games. The entertainment games are the ones that are available in the market in the form of digital interactions, and these games the learners are find it very engrossing, and they also find it very interesting, as most of the learners, children actually of the present generation, they are engrossed in playing these particular games. These are in the form of video games or computer games. And as we can find that in this particular game, there is the element of fun, and there is also the element of reward involved in these games. Now, these entertainment games, the purpose of these entertainment games are only to entertain the audience, and they don't have an educational purpose there. So there is no element of education in this particular games. But incidentally, the learners might acquire a skill while playing this game. So it is not intended, but incidentally, they might acquire a skill. Whereas when we go to the learning games, the teacher designs the game keeping in mind the learning outcomes that needs to be achieved. So the learning games are basically called as the educational games. So these educational games keep in mind the element of fun, as well as the reward that should be involved in this type of games. But these games, they have defined learning outcomes, and so therefore they cater to the needs and requirements in the education process. And so these games are not distracting for the learners, but in fact, they are a part of the curriculum. So it is a way of making the learners involved in the learning process. At the same time, it is also a way of teaching a skill to the learner or testing the skill for the learner. And it achieves the short-term as well as the long-term goals while we design these learning games. So these are very important aspects that we need to keep in mind. The learning games, they have to be designed on a specified learning outcome on the basis of Bloom's taxonomy, so that we can achieve short-term and long-term goals. So when we are designing games that pertain to the lower order skills, we are achieving the short-term goals. And when we go and design a game that achieves the higher order thinking skills, then we are achieving the long-term goals. skills. So with this, I would like all of you to play this game, which is called as a puzzle game. And for this, again, you need to click on the link given in the chat box. So Dipti Madam will post the link in the chat box. So you click on the link given in the chat box, go to File, you'll find an option Download As, click on it and download a copy. So even if a pop-up appears, click Download, open the presentation and start playing without clicking on the slide mode, because the presentation mode, because this game will not respond in the slideshow mode or in the presentation mode. So you just need to open the presentation and start playing the game. Read the contents page and cover page of each book displayed from slide number 1 to 4 and anticipate the gist of the 4 stories or the 4 books. Go to the slide with the multiple choice questions incorporated in it. Select the correct answer to each question. Now go to the slide with the puzzle pieces. Each puzzle piece has an answer mentioned on it. However, some of the answers are incorrect. Hence, the puzzle pieces are not going to fit in correctly if chosen. On the basis of the serial number of the correct answers, select the corresponding puzzle piece to complete the puzzle. On completion, write the name of the personality in the chat box. So you get 15 minutes for this game, but if you can complete it faster, I would really appreciate it. There's only one correct answer. So therefore, the personality that you will get will be only one. It cannot be all 3.
Ma'am, time is up.
Okay. So those participants who have not been able to complete the game, you can do it later because based on this game, in tomorrow's session, I have certain questions. So you need to play the game completely in order to be able to answer those questions. So I have actually another game that would help you to identify then how games can be designed, keeping in mind the important aspects that I have discussed with you all. So for this, since we are running out of time, I would request all of you to play the game later on. So for that, you can, I will even mail you the instructions so you can follow the instructions and then play the game in your own convenient time. But here also you need to play this game because for tomorrow's session, I have questions related to the puzzle game and the spinning wheel game. So if you do not play the game, you will not be able to answer the questions. So please play the game in your convenient time and so that you will be able to answer the questions. Okay, with this, I come to the end of the second session today, and I would like to thank all of you for participating in this today's session. And I would request all of you to kindly come up with your questions so that we can discuss and arrive at a solution to your doubts or to the difficulties that you faced while listening to this particular session.